Hello my lovelies. So today we're going to do a long form journal with me video. Haven't done one of these in a while because I've just been really enjoying doing the quick fire ones. So my goal is to kind of have one long journal with me a month where it's a bit more of a, we journal together. I have a bit of a chat about what came up for me. Sometimes I think it's interesting for me to share that because I think that sometimes we have the same thoughts and feelings, or similar things come up, or there's themes there. So sometimes I think it's really interesting for me to share that with you so that just kind of puts things into perspective sometimes and helps to understand what other people came up with. Even sometimes when what we came up with, what you came up with, what I came up with can be completely different. But I just think sometimes it's quite interesting to hear other people's perspectives. And that's something we do in the True Self Society, which I'm just going to talk about really, really quickly before we get stuck into today's topic. But the True Self Society is my community membership, and the doors are opening for its second round of enrolment on the 7th of November. The doors only open twice a year. They opened for the first time ever back in June, and then they're opening again in a couple of weeks' time. And it is just an absolutely glorious space for you to come and join other like-minded women. And we do journaling and creativity, and we have community coaching calls. There's just so much goodness in there. We have meditations, so many journal prompts. We have workshops, workbooks, masterclasses, whole host of things. But what's just fantastic about it is that you get to connect with other like-minded women who are on a journey that may be similar to yours, or it may be completely different to yours. But what's so powerful and so amazing is that we join each other on our journeys, and we come together and we talk about it, and we just have conversations about the things that we're going through, and we share our celebrations, we share our wins, but we share our worries and our stresses as well. And we just come together and we just connect in such a beautiful way, and we look at lots of different themes and topics. Each month is a different topic, and it's just wonderful. I just absolutely love it. The women that are in there are so amazing, and I cannot wait to welcome some more incredible women into that space from November. So if you want more information about that, the link to it is in the description box, and you can read more about it. And yeah, there's all the information you could ever need is in that link. So for today's video, today's journal with me, we're going to be looking at the inner child. Now, this is a huge topic, and there's so much to be explored and uncovered when it comes to the inner child. So we're going to keep it quite high level today because I don't want to get too deep into it in a short video. There's so much work to be done, and that can be done around the inner child, and healing your inner child as well. But I kind of want to just keep it quite high level, quite simple, and we're going to just kind of go into a little bit about what it is. I'm going to share that in a minute, and then we'll do some journal prompts and explore a bit more about our own inner child. Okay, so what is, or who is our inner child? Our inner child is a part of us that has been there since day dot. Since the day we were brought onto this planet, our inner child has been there. And she has lived through everything that you have lived through. She's been through all the experiences, both positive and negative. And she's held on to some of those things from childhood right through to adulthood. And what's really interesting is that she's picked up things along the way, and she has held on to some of those things. And what happens is those things that she's held on to, is some of those things can manifest into what we refer to as wounds, let's say. Again, not going to go too deep into this, just going to kind of keep it at quite high level. But some of our personality traits and our characteristics can be a result of things that we've experienced throughout our life, and that our inner child has kind of held on to. Now, there's so much that we can do when it comes to looking after our inner child. We can care for her, we can connect with her, we can soothe her, we can look after her, and we can make her feel safe and cared for. So an example of a wound that we may have, I'll just really use a really simple one, is someone telling us when we were younger that we weren't very good at painting. And now we've carried that throughout our life, and we always believe that we're not very good at painting. Just because someone has told us that when we were younger, we've kind of held on to that comment. And we've just always then developed this belief that we're no good at painting and that we're just not very good at it, and what's the point in trying it? Now, that's a really kind of simple example, but that's the type of thing that we're talking about. Things that have been said to us, things that we've learned over the years, behaviours, beliefs, understandings about ourselves that have manifested into how we live our life today. And when we do inner child work, as I said again, I'm going to repeat myself again, this is a huge topic, and I'm just really skimming the surface here. But when we do inner child work, we want to look at those wounds and look at those personality traits and characteristics that maybe we don't necessarily agree with now, and we don't necessarily align with now. And we kind of take that step back and go, is this how I want to live my life? Are these things true about me? Or do I need to assess them? Or can I heal these wounds? Can I kind of, review how I'm living my life? Can I start again with some things? Can I try to paint and see if I can actually paint, and see if I can learn to paint? So it's about understanding these things that we've picked up throughout our life, and kind of reviewing and reevaluating and starting to connect more with our inner child and understand what she needs and what she wants from us, and learn how to look after her and soothe her and heal her in the many ways that we may need to. And ultimately, when we have a happy and content inner child, then we kind of emit that, on the outside. We live a happy and content life. But when we have an unhappy and, unsatisfied inner child, shall we say, we start to kind of that starts to come through in our life as well, and we can become bitter and resentful, and we can just be living in a way that it doesn't make us happy and just makes us unhappy. So if we can identify these wounds and these ways of being that maybe don't make us feel that good, then we can start to understand how we can start looking after ourselves and our inner child, and how we can start to heal those wounds, and how we can start to move forwards in a more positive way. So that was like me trying to kind of keep that really short and sweet, because as I said, there's so much, and this is probably a video in itself. I did do a video for the True Self Society on this topic, because one of our monthly topics was around inner child and play. But maybe I'll save that for another time. Or if you join the True Self Society, then you'll be able to watch that video. So just before we get stuck in, if you are new around here, the way we're going to do this is we're going to journal for a few minutes on each prompt. I will set a timer, and then I'll have a bit of a chat with you about how I found it. We'll get stuck in. If you need to spend longer than the time that I've said on these prompts, then just pause the video. That's the beauty of it being YouTube. Just pause the video and spend longer. Or if you want to kind of run the course of the video, come back to these prompts another time, come back to them later today, or whatever suits you. Come back to them again and again as well, because you might find then different things come up for you. And also, I just want to say kind of a bit of a disclaimer, the nature of this topic can be quite heavy. It can feel quite deep and raw and emotional. So just be gentle with yourself. Be kind to yourself. If you feel like it's getting too much, and it's probably more kind of the latter part of the prompts maybe that might bring up some emotions or thoughts or feelings, then just take it slow. Maybe if you feel need to pause and come back to it, do it. If you're finding it too much, then just stop altogether. But just be kind to yourself and look after yourself. And some of these questions are hard. Some of these topics are hard with all of my videos. But just be kind to yourself, because you're doing your best. And the fact that you're even here showing up and that you want to explore these things, that's amazing in the first place. So have fun, enjoy yourself, take it easy, and let's go. So I want to start with a prompt that's going to help us to connect with our inner child. So I'm going to start with the prompt, as a child, I would daydream about. As a child, I would daydream about. And we'll go for 2.5 minutes on this one. still feel like I daydream about these things today. So for me, I wrote about magical adventures and exploring faraway lands and traveling far and wide, visiting new places, being around animals, having a dog. Something that came up for me at the end, which I thought was really interesting, was being liked by everyone. Now, I had quite a, I'm going to say, troubled school life when I was younger. You know, I was picked on, let's say, by quite a lot of different people throughout a lot of my school life. You know, people would like to make fun of me, but anyway, that's a story for another time. But I think when you're younger and that kind of happens, it makes you want to be liked by everyone, because when people are being mean, you want the opposite. You just want to be liked and you want to have all the friends. And I think when you realise as you grow older, is that it's not about having all the friends, it's not about having the biggest circle of friends, it's about having like quality over quantity, definitely. But that came up for me right at the end. You know, what did I daydream about as a child? And I guess it was to be liked by everyone. And what I can already see forming here is those people-pleasing tendencies that you know, we're not born with those people-pleasing tendencies, we're conditioned to people-please. And I think that I can already see that to be liked by everyone was something that I had when I was a child, and I've brought that into my adult life by, you know, developing this people-pleasing behaviours, shall we say. But yeah, I mean, I could go down a whole rabbit hole on that, but it's quite interesting how I'm already connecting the dots already. So number 2 is, I have them on my screen here. As a child, I loved to spend time, ... As a child, I loved to spend time. What did you love to spend time doing? So yeah, again, we'll go for 2.5 minutes on this one. So there's definitely some kind of links to what I would daydream about and what I would spend my time doing. So I would be outside a lot. I'm very fortunate, and I'm very grateful that I actually grew up in a time when the internet didn't exist. It was in the very, very early days. You were lucky if you had a computer in your house, and it was old school dial up. If someone picked up the phone while you were on the computer, on the internet, it would cut out the connection. So it was, you know, very, very old school. And I'm really grateful for that, because it meant that I spent a lot of time outside playing. I wasn't inside. I did play a bit of PlayStation with a friend around the corner, because we didn't have one in our house. But, and I did write that because that was a good memory. But the majority of the time was spent out climbing trees. We used to find clay in this like little stream near my house, and we used to make things from it, and just kind of having sleepovers and making camps and things like that, and exploring and just going out on adventures, even not that far from home, but just exploring local places. So I am grateful for that. But also something, again, it comes through, like as I'm writing, I'm like not going that deep, and then as I get kind of towards the end, I get that little bit deeper. And something that came through was writing letters to pen pals, you know, making pen pals, making friends on holiday and then writing to them. Like, loved doing that, and I still love writing letters to people today. And anything creative and crafty. Now, you know, if you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know that I love creativity and I love craft. So really, really interesting. And you know, I used to read a lot and listen to music, but music back then was, you know, a tape on a tape player, or the radio. You would listen to the radio. And once the internet did become a bit more established, you know, we did have other ways of listening to music online. But yeah, just really interesting what kind of comes through for me, and a lot of it was being outside and playing, essentially. So number 3 is, what was your safe space as a child, and does this translate into your life now? What was your safe space as a child, and does this translate into your life now? And we'll go for 3 minutes on this one. don't know if I actually had a safe space as such, but actually I think although I didn't maybe have somewhere specifically in my mind when I was writing, I was like, oh, I think these were probably my safe spaces. I think I had two. One was my bedroom at my parents' house. That was definitely somewhere I would retreat to, and I always made it a very kind of cozy, warm, inviting space, and it was very much an extension of me as a person. And then the other one was being outside. Again, like I kind of answered in the first two prompts, was around, being outside and playing and adventures and exploring. And what I've kind of come to the conclusion of is actually where my room was my safe space, my home now is my safe space. And this is very much, this house that I live in is my home. And it is my space that I've made my own, or our own, as a partnership with my boyfriend. And this is our home, and this is our safe space, and this is where we retreat to, and this is where we come to after a day out with friends or a day out with family, and we come back here, and this is our kind of safe retreat. And I love that, and I really, really love that. And there's still work to be done on our house, but that was kind of the conclusion I came to from my bedroom being my safe space to now my home being my safe space. It's like an extension of that one room that I had in my parents' house to now it being a home. And then to being outside and being in nature, that definitely translates into my adult life. I love being out in nature. I love getting outside, going for walks, walking dogs, and just acknowledging the beauty of nature and what's around us, and just being alone with my thoughts, or actually being alone without my thoughts and trying to be present and in the moment when I'm out in the woods and I'm out in nature. So definitely it translates. And then something again that I wrote right at the end was, I used to always have this reoccurring dream, and in my parents' house, if my sister could hear me talking about dreams right now, she'd be telling me off, because she says, don't tell other people about your dreams, it's so boring. But anyway, I'm going to do it. But I used to have this dream. So I used to have a cupboard with like the I don't know what it was, like an immersion heater, if you're in the UK and you know what that is, like one of those big things that's got the water in it. That cupboard was in my bedroom, and I used to have this reoccurring dream that I would go into that cupboard and there'd be this tiny little doorway, and I would crawl through this door, and on the other side of that door would be like a book nook, like a little cupboard space. So it was quite big once you got in there, and there was like bean bags and bookcases, and it was just absolutely glorious. And so one day I feel like I want to kind of create that space. Eventually, once I create my YouTube studio if you've watched my other videos, you might know about this, but eventually I'm going to have a YouTube studio in our house in the spare room. That will likely be a winter project, so probably into the new year. But yeah, I think I'm going to kind of be able to replicate that a little bit in that studio. So I'm really looking forward to that. But anyway, back to journaling. So again, I know this is like a real whistle-stop tour of the inner child, and kind of some of these questions are aimed at helping you to connect with your inner child. But the question I want to ask now is, do you feel connected or disconnected to your inner child? Do you feel connected or disconnected to your inner child? And we will go for 3 minutes on this one. So I actually feel pretty connected to my inner child. I think something that I've developed in probably the last 5 or 6 years is this ability to challenge and question where a lot of the beliefs I have about myself have come from. And now, that's both a good thing and a bad thing, because obviously I can then overanalyze things and I can then question things a bit too much. But actually, I think it's a really healthy thing to do, is to question where your beliefs about yourself come from. And that's linking back to this, you know, these wounds from, or these personality traits or characteristics that we've kind of learnt from a young age, and beliefs that we have about ourselves that have come from other people and not actually from ourselves. So from comments that other people have made, or from conditioning from the media or society. So it's really important to connect with your inner child, to actually question things in life. And also I think like knowing what you need, knowing what she needs within, and you know how you can take care of her is really powerful and really important. Now, I am quite a childlike person in the sense that I love to do things that would be deemed by society as childlike. I love to do, arts and crafts is not childlike, let's be real, but when you think about it, like, that's how we've been conditioned to believe, that kids do arts and crafts, not adults, which is just not true. We know that for a fact, right? What else? I like to do silly things, and I think because I'm so aware of it, and I'm like, well, it doesn't matter if I want to do that, I'm an adult, but I can still be childlike. There'll be other people that would say, oh, grow up, so it's removing that from it. And if I want to get dressed up in funky outfit and get dressed up as a fairy and have glitter on my face, and because I love playing with glitter on my face, it's really messy, but I love it. Any opportunity, if I go to a festival or a party where I can put glitter on my face, I jump at the opportunity. But those things, having your face painted is a very kind of thing that a child does. And we've just been conditioned by society to think that adults can't do that thing, and they need to grow up if they do. But there's so much space for us to do childlike things. When I was away on holiday this year, there was a small kids park and there was a swing, and I was like, I haven't been on a swing since I was little. So I was like, do you know what? I'm going on the swing. And I went on the swing, and it was so much fun. But there's this conditioning that we've developed, and these things that we've learned, and that is that those things are for children, not for adults. But it's a load of crap, and I'm here to tell you that you need to do more childlike things. And I'm here to encourage you. I love watching kids films. Again, kids films. They're designed for kids, but there's no reason why adults can't enjoy them as much as kids do. And I know that we do, but it's like this this stigma maybe that's attached, that if you like kids films, you need to grow up. I don't know, I could talk about it for hours, but I just think that we just need to have more play in our lives, whatever that looks like for you. I loved the film Trolls. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. I really encourage you. It's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, so I feel like I'm always up for doing things that soothe and care for and help my inner child to just, make the most of it and have fun. And by kind of looking after her as well and knowing what she needs, and caring for her, I have a stronger connection with her. But I mean, it's probably not always been the way. It's definitely something I've built over the last kind of 5 or 6 years on my kind of self-discovery, personal development journey. Anyway, that aside, let's go for the last prompt. And I feel like I want to do another video on play, because as you just kind of heard me rattle on about, like, I could talk about play for hours and hours, because I don't think as adults we have enough play in our lives. So anyway, number 5 is, are you aware of any wounds that have manifested in your life today? Are you aware of any wounds that have manifested in your life today? And we'll go for 3 minutes. think I could probably spend a long time on this one, but for me, body image, definitely one. I think a lot of women will resonate with that from comments that people have said over the years, you know, sometimes harmless comments, but they stick and we hold on to them. But also seeing things, you know, other people and things on TV, and just always that kind of comparison trap of well, I don't look like that, and then just kind of carrying that with us, you know, carrying that with us through all the years and into adulthood. This is a big one for me as well. And I know from kind of conversations that I've had in True Self Society and other communities that I've been part of, that being told you're too something, fill in the blank, you know, you're too much, you're too loud, you're too quiet, you're too hyper, you're too boring, too sensible, the list goes on. Just being told you are too something, definitely that's a big one for me. And also very contradictory to being told you're too loud, too hyper, and then so you then go, okay, well, I better like rein it in then, and I better be quiet, and then being told you're too quiet and too boring, so you can't ever win. That's definitely like an area of conflict that I've had when I was younger, and something that definitely stuck and stayed with me for many, many, many years, until I realised that I'm just going to be whoever I want to be. And yeah, I'm not going to worry as much about what others have to say or what others think, because I'm going to be who I am and what makes me happy. This list, you know, not feeling good enough, self-doubt, one that links back to being picked on and bullied when I was younger is kind of this fear of rejection and abandonment, from being like rejected out of friendship groups or whatever that was when I was little. That's definitely one as well that stuck with me, and I've carried that into my adult life without even realising it. I only unpacked that one recently. And yeah, just there's quite a lot of fear, like fear of rejection, fear of failure, and kind of when you spend time with these fears and these wounds, and you start to unpack and ask yourself, where do they come from? It's really fascinating what you can kind of dig into, and if you really look back through the years of your life, where you can usually pinpoint a point that it started, because we're not born with these things. They're learned behaviours. So I encourage you, if anything has come up for you that you're like, like, where does that come from? Sit with it. If it's uncomfortable, be gentle with yourself, or just regardless of whether it's uncomfortable, be gentle with yourself, but sit with it and spend some time figuring out where it maybe came from. And it can be really, really interesting and really liberating to understand where that behaviour started. So they are our prompts for today. Quite deep, some of them. As I said, you know, be gentle with yourself, look after yourself, spend some more time on them, spend some more time exploring, and just see what comes up for you. But yeah, it's been fantastic as always. As I said, I'm going to drop the details about the True Self Society in the comments section below. And yeah, I hope to see you again very, very soon.